gentlemen. Thank you, Bob, for that kind introduction. Thank you very much for your very warm reception. I very much appreciate it. I hope it is not lost on all in attendance the significant bipartisan nature of the participants in today's forum. We are looking for things in this town, for policy objectives and outcomes that we would like to be shared by both sides of the aisle, and I guess it's very important and a very visible statement that these Republicans and these Democrats have worked for. Republican and Democrat administrations feel unanimously that the designation of MEK should be lifted and should be lifted now. So I think it's a pretty good ladies and gentlemen, I've said this before. Some of my friends have heard it, but I'll keep saying it until the designation is lifted. Time is not our ally in our collective efforts to prevent the tyrannical regime in Tehran from becoming a nuclear power. As a matter of fact, time is running out. We need to understand that. I'd like to read you something that was written and spoken in September of 1995. Listen carefully. I wish to address a pivotal issue: how to confront this regime and the fundamentalism and terrorism it fosters. The issue is key because on the international level, all approaches and policies vis-a-vis the mullah's religious terrorist dictatorship have proven futile. Indeed, in many cases, they have taken advantage of by the regime, which has been the only party to benefit from them. September 1995, Maryam Rajavi, President-elect, National Council of Resistance of Iran. 1995, push forward to January of 2011. What has changed? Has there been a regime change? Is there less oppression, more freedom, more peaceful engagement with the rest of the world? 16 years later, nothing has changed, and I think time is running out. It was interesting when the parties met in December, and they agreed to meet in December knowing full well that when the representatives from the Iranian government appeared, they were not inclined to discuss their nuclear intentions. One does wonder why everybody bothered showing up, because the only thing they agreed to do at that time was they agreed to convene again. In anticipation of the next meeting, which is in the next couple of weeks, the UN ambassador has basically said that in regard to the UN and EU sanctions that have been directed against Iran for its noncompliance with UN resolutions over its nuclear program, the ambassador said, quote, "The issue of sticks and carrots proved to be unsuccessful, and that Iran would not respond to political pressures nor sanctions." Well, they won't respond to political pressures. They won't respond to sanctions. They'll certainly be willing to meet over the next 16 or 17 years. So every legitimate effort, as well-intentioned as it may have been, have proven to be quite unsuccessful. Nothing has changed. Time is running out. Be very interested in hearing the observations of some of my colleagues on the panel, but in my judgment, the Western world presently faces no greater threat than from Iran. So you've got Iran and all these surrogates, and the only thing that MEK has asked of us is to delist us, give us the same opportunity in a very controlled and repressive society which is using the MEK designation to continue to imprison, oppress, imprison, torture, and often murder. Just lift the designation. That's all we're asking. I asked a very significant political figure a couple of years ago in the Middle East, given all the challenges associated with the Middle East, how would you identify the top three priorities, the top three problems? You know what the individual said? Iran, Iran, I think one of the best ways to do it, and I think it would have a profound impact on the negotiations that are scheduled if the designation was lifted before the other countries met with the Iranian delegation. That would be a significant change of policy and send an entirely different signal to the regime. Interesting what happened in Tunisia, isn't it? People took to the streets. Quite quickly, the administration responded, and in a very positive and supportive way of those voices of democracy, voices of change. Interestingly enough, unlike Iran, the military didn't come to the assistance of Ben Ali. For whatever reason, they stayed on the sidelines. But the administration applauded the move, the effort to bring democracy and freedom to Tunisia. They were fairly mute after the fraudulent elections in Iran. Again, I don't quite understand the inconsistency in the policy. And as we say time and time again, both publicly and privately, the resistance and the MEK, they're not looking for money. They're not looking for arms. They just want the freedom to speak. They want to be delisted and take action into their own hands. We need to do that for them because time is running out. In the late 1990s, to curry favor, as the Attorney General mentioned, the U.S. declared the People's Mujahideen of Iran to be a terrorist organization, and many allies followed suit. You may extend a hand, an open hand, to try to resolve a challenge, but on the other end, if there's a clenched fist, it's very unlikely.